Okay, here we are again, Greg. Welcome back.
Hey,
I'm Rick Sorensen.
I'm Greg Camp.
We are here to talk about healthier ever after strategies. We've been talking for a few weeks about our pillars of wellness and a wellness guide and small changes that we can incrementally make that in the aggregate make us healthier
Yeah,
over time.
yeah, just
Uh,
things to work on, really.
Sustainable changes. That's what we're about. Today, we want to talk a little bit about some other helps that help us do that. Before we get going, just a reminder that everything shared here is for informational and educational purposes and is not intended to be medical advice. We do talk about a lot of things today, including medications. We talk about supplements, weight loss programs, and this is not a substitute for personalized medical care. Always please consult with your physician or qualified healthcare provider before starting or changing any medications, supplements, or health program, especially if you have underlying medical conditions. All right. And that's important because we're going to talk today about medication. So, there's, all over the news the last couple of years, it's been Ozempic.
Yeah, Ozempic, semaglutide, or
so let's talk a little bit about what that is. People say GLP-1s. Let's just get in a little bit what that is and what it means and what we're talking about with that. I mean, there's several medications that for decades, a century, have been used to help with weight loss.
Yeah. Anti-obesity medications are AOMs, which is kind of the common phrase in the medical community about these type of medications. I mean, just to take a step back before GLP-1s, before Ozempic and Wegovy and all these medications. I mean, there's been a lot of these medications have come out for a long time. I mean, even a lot of them over the counter, Orlistat and things that, you could see over the counter, Hydroxycut and stuff that I remember seeing on the counter, over the counter as a kid. And so these are not new. Using medications or supplements for weight loss is not a new thing.
Right. Well, and the GLP-1s that, in the last couple of years have just exploded. The market been an unbelievable market because the success people have on them is unprecedented. Yeah. But they're not new medicines themselves either, right? No. GLP-1, semaglutide, that's been around for now 21 years.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time. In fact, it was used in Europe before it even came over to the States. And it primarily, these GLP-1s that we're talking about that are currently really, the hype around them is the weight loss. But, truly they came on the scene as a diabetes medication.
Right, because they help regulate insulin and how your body uses sugar and
the release of glucagon, your own body's natural sugar. So they came on the scene a long time ago. Now they knew in the studies early on that there was shown to have some weight loss, but what they didn't recognize initially, or at least what they didn't, maybe they saw there was a bigger benefit in treating diabetics before obesity. They really didn't look at these medications as an anti-obesity medications for the general public. This was more, let's treat your diabetes. If you get an extra, 3% of weight loss or 5% of weight loss while we're doing it, that's just a bonus. And until they really started diving into the science and figuring out that because of the way GLP-1s act on the system, that really these were very reasonable medications for people that were non-diabetic. And that's really, especially once that initial medication, which is where Ozempic or Wegovy really got going. I mean, boy, we already knew, we could see it in family practice. I was treating patients with diabetes and watching them get their diabetes under control and watch them shed the pounds. I mean, we knew if this was released as a medication that was safe for non-diabetics, we knew the writing was on the wall. This was going to be a big medication.
And it is. It's huge.
It's huge.
And so what, let's talk about a little bit what it does. The GLP-1, that's when we talk about GLP-1s, we're talking about semaglutide and tirzepatide.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, those are two big things. And that's like Ozempic, Wegovy, Zepbound, tirzepatide, different brand names, but the two chemicals are semaglutide and tirzepatide. Semaglutide is a GLP-1, which stands for a glucagon-like peptide.
Yeah.
Right? And then tirzepatide actually has a GLP-1 and a GIP, which is it's just it just works with glucagon a little bit differently, but it adds some tolerability, a little bit less nausea. We can talk why that's a thing, but GLP-1 is the big thing that we talk about. And let's just talk a little about what that does. What does it do to my body? If I take this to help me with weight loss, what does that do?
Well, it's a good question, and the reason why these have been so popular is because most medications previously acted on maybe one, like for example, like a stimulant medication could suppress appetite, maybe give you a little bit of energy, but it really wasn't focusing in on a lot of the underlying issues, such as like metabolic concerns and things like that.
And
It would
how your body uses the its own hormones.
Sure, exactly. Your insulin and your release of glucagon, which is your body's own sugar. Whereas now you have these injectable weight loss medications that hit on so many different things. So that glucagon like peptide one, so just that one peptide that originally kind of got this thing really, really going. There were a few GLP-1s released before then. They were kind of cumbersome, didn't have nearly as much, they weren't nearly as effective. But once they actually got the formula down, and now we know that that's being always worked on and things are expanding
Yeah.
and whatnot. But the original formula that got so much traction, that GLP-1, that Ozempic or Wegovy, is a glucagon-like peptide 1. This does multiple things within the body. You already have this peptide within your body right now. You release it after you eat a big meal typically, or even a small meal, but not in as much of a high of amount. And so what this does is it slows gastric emptying, meaning that your stomach is constantly emptying. You're putting food in and your stomach's emptying it out.
And why is that? Why can just pause for a second? I don't want to
Sure.
interrupt, but why is that a big deal when I'm trying to lose weight? Like we talk about emptying the stomach. I eat food, I fill my stomach. My stomach naturally wants to churn that up, digest it, and get rid of it, get it into the intestine where nutrients are absorbed. Why does that matter if I slow that process down?
Well, if you think about it, how many of us have eaten more than we think our stomach could fit, right? Your stomach's not that big. Maybe it's bigger, a little bit, maybe bigger than your fist. But I mean, boy, we've all been there where we've eaten, eaten 2 to 3 plates of food where you're like, where did I fit all that? Well, the reason you were able to fit all that food in your stomach is because not all of it remained in your stomach, right? You're just emptying that as quick as you can. Your empty is just emptying the stomach out into the small intestines. Well, ultimately, when we slow this down, think about it. So you put food within the stomach, you take a GLP-1, you put food within the stomach. Well, your stomach is now not emptying. So now, or at least it's just emptying at a very slow
So it gives
rate.
you a sense of fullness sooner that lasts longer.
Yes.
All right.
Go try to fill a bucket full of water and it has holes in it. I mean, you can't do it, right? You're just dumping more water in and it just keeps on emptying out because it has holes in the bottom. All this GLP-1 does is really, just to give an example, it's just plugging up those holes so that when we fill the bucket, it can stay full
longer. Yeah, stays full.
And then what happens when you fill up your stomach, right? Now you start releasing your own natural GLP-1. So on top of the GLP-1 that you've already, put in your body, that's going to remain in there for 5 to 7 days. Now your body's releasing your own GLP-1. So it's just this additive effect of where, and so what does GLP-1 do? Not only does it slow gastric emptying, but it helps the brain, the centers of the brain where your appetite is, where your cravings are at. I mean, and it just really shuts that area down. And that's what it's designed for, right? You get too full. We've all been there. Once again, you get 2 plates deep and all of a sudden you're like, oh boy, I'm full. I couldn't eat another thing. I don't crave food. I don't have an appetite right now. And for that hour or so, because that's probably about how long your own GLP-1 is in your system, you really get rid of it quite quickly. You don't feel like eating anything, right? But then after an hour, it goes away and you're hungry.
You get done. You're so full. You're like, I cannot, like Thanksgiving, right? I am so full. I can't eat another bite. Man, that was so delicious, but I'm full. And then an hour later, like, where's the pie?
Yeah. So, and that's really just the fact that you started releasing GLP-1, you filled up your stomach eventually started slowing down because of the release of your own GLP-1. And so you've all felt GLP-1s before. You felt them in your body in action, and you just where nothing sounds good because you're full, but it goes away quickly.
Yeah.
These medications have just afforded an opportunity for us to do an injection once a week is the typical time frame in that, and really to be able to feel that fullness effect and feel that suppression of appetite and cravings for a long period of time. And in this case, 5 to 7 days is how long these will last. Now, all they did with tirzepatide, which is a dual peptide, right? It has the GLP-1 that Ozempic or Wegovy have, and it really just added in a second peptide. Now, the reason they did this is for tolerability. That GIP peptide is going to help your body really tolerate the GLP-1 better. Can be some side effects. We'll talk all about it. We're going to dive into that. We probably won't get
But the biggest side
twofold.
effect, I mean, so when you talk about like these medicines slow the stomach from emptying, the biggest side effect is nausea, right?
Sure.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
like classic, and that's probably one of the biggest reasons people sometimes don't continue is because they just can't handle the nausea, and there are ways to mitigate that and to
absolutely.
decrease that.
Yeah, and I mean, anytime you're affecting the GI tract in general, right, you're going to have some potential GI side effects. Now, most people, most of the side effects, and I'd say 90% of patients in general, just anecdotal observations, even with some minor side effects, really tolerate these medications quite well.
Yeah,
Most patients
yeah,
don't ever get to the point where they just, without working with your medical provider, you can't figure out a way to be able to get on a GLP-1 of some sort and be able to do quite well on it.
yeah.
So, but yeah, you're affecting the GI tract, so you're going to have some potential side effects, just like you can with Tylenol and
Anything. Yeah,
ibuprofen or any other kind of medication. So, but yeah, the truth is that they've added that second peptide in for tolerability, taking away some of the side effects that can come about because of a GLP-1, but also because of effectiveness. The GIP peptide is going to help with the breakdown of fat or the metabolism of fat,
yeah,
and so it really bolsters that up. And then with really just the way that you release insulin. You're supposed to release insulin in a timely manner. You're supposed to get that timing down right. If your body's just constantly producing insulin and you're way out of timing, unfortunately what happens is that you do a lot more storing than burning. When you are on a good timing schedule and your body's really very specifically releasing insulin in a very timely manner and the timing's right on, well, then you can use a lot more of those calories for energy instead of just storing them.
yeah,
And so that's why tirzepatide, which came out a little bit after Ozempic,
yeah,
got popular, because it's like seemingly less side effects and more effective.
yeah, yeah. It has so tirzepatide is Zepbound, I think is the
Yeah, is the
one of
weight loss
one of
one.
the brand names of that. It's got two things. It's got the GLP-1 and it's got a GIP, which stands for a glucose dependent insulinotropic polypeptide. It's just a second protein that kind of helps the GLP-1 a little bit better. So it stimulates insulin release only when glucose is there. It acts on the brain in a way that kind of helps with the nausea. So that's why it's much more expensive. But a lot of people who can't tolerate the simple semaglutide, the GLP-1, because of nausea, for
Sure.
example, um, the tirzepatide has this second peptide that tends to decrease that. It's much more tolerated,
Yeah.
um, much less nausea involved with it, and then it also um, helps regulate metabolism and energy balance, and improves kind of just that overall how your body uses its energy.
Yeah. And so, well, yeah, and like Rick said, so I mean, we have these medications, and that's what we want to kind of bring these up and just do an introduction to them, because they are the biggest thing out right now. I mean, I started my clinic before GLP-1s got really popular, and we were using the other AOMs that were very, really still quite popular,
Yeah,
but just not nearly as effective. And that's why these have. There's been lots of medications released for anti-obesity medications in the past,
yeah,
and you haven't heard nearly this much rumbling. And the reason why is because of the overall effectiveness. Most people don't deal with a significant amount of side effects. Most people do quite well on these, and most people have more success on these than all the other things they've tried
yeah,
in combination. And you'll see any of the studies released on these, the actual studies, not just your neighbor down the street that is talking about it, but the actual studies on this are in combination with some lifestyle changes. Some of the things that we've been talking
yeah,
about prior to this, to this episode, in trying to say, hey, look, we can do all the medication stuff in the world, but ultimately it does not come down. It comes down to making some lifestyle changes with whatever you're going to do. If you ever decide to do something with medications for being overweight.
yeah. And that's probably something we really want to stress is that these medications are, um, we view them as a tool to help with the lifestyle changes that we are proponents of. So there are people who take GLP-1 medication, and that's all they do, and they get a lot of success with that. But we're interested in making changes using this as a tool, that allows you to then make the changes, do the move more, sleep better, time your meals, eat a little bit less, 25% rule, all these little changes, that it just makes it easier and more successful to make those little changes. And then it all leads to a bigger amount of success and more sustainability.
Absolutely.
Right? It's we're not fans of using this as a crutch to lose weight only.
Sure.
Right? It's a tool to make your other efforts more sustainable and more successful.
Absolutely.
Is that said right?
Yeah. I mean, anyone that's tried to lose weight over a period of time, or you've gone on 7 different fad diets because this is going to be the one that works and I'm going to be able to keep it off. I mean, we know that frustration. And, really what we're trying to do is just level the playing field. We're trying to get in a position to where we're proposing, lifestyle changes that we feel are very achievable by most people. And yes, sometimes do we need some additional help because, at the end of the day, even doing the lifestyle changes that we've proposed, some people are a little more resistant. Some people, don't lose weight as easy as others. And we recognize that every person, every patient is different. So, really where the GLP-1s and oftentimes just level the playing field.
Yep.
For the people out there that never needed the GLP-1, that lost weight on their own, made the changes and they were able to do
them.
it. Absolutely. Awesome. That's fantastic. But, for a lot of people, and I would say probably the majority of people that struggle with being overweight and being obese and struggling with some of these lifestyle things, in a lot of cases, this is the reason why these are so popular and why they've had so much noise behind them is because people finally feel like they have an answer to what they've been trying to do for months, years, even decades.
Feel like they feel like all these things that I've been trying to do for years on end at times are actually making a difference now. Right? I think that's the sentiment that a lot of people have. Like I work out, I do these things, I try and eat well, I do the best I can just to not be ginormous, right? Like I'm never going to be skinny. I'm never going to, feel really good. But if I don't do these things, I'm just going to be way worse.
Yep.
This has kind of got a lot of people over that hump to where they're like, wow, this really is successful. This is helping me fit my clothes better. It helped me feel better, helped me have more energy, helped me lose a few pounds. And it's just this overall success in the effort that a lot of people already are doing and trying.
Yeah. Well, and you bring up a good point, and because we're just talking about this in terms of losing weight, but I mean, ever since these GLP-1s have gotten really popular, I mean, so many things has come out in favor of them, not just from a weight loss standpoint, but from a cardiovascular view, reduction of cardiovascular risks, significant. We're not talking about 1 or 2% reduction risk. We're talking about a significant reduction in cardiovascular disease, heart attack and stroke. There's so many
cancer
things.
Survivability. There was a study just a couple weeks ago on tirzepatide about colon cancer decreases the incidence of and increases the survivability of colon cancer. Like there's just study after study coming out that suggest tons of benefits.
Well,
and weight loss. It even got an indication from the FDA to treat osteoarthritis of the knees.
Yep.
Which I don't think chemically it does anything to the knees.
No.
But you lose weight, you move more, you get able to do that. And that helps your bad knees not be so bad.
Yeah. Well, we see this anecdotally, right? I mean, we get the benefit of, yes, there's certain indications that we have to wait to officially say, hey, it treats this or does this. But boy, the anecdotal examples that Rick and I could use just from a clinical basis are, I mean, they're almost hard to count how many things people say. I mean, I have so many people that tell me, oh, my bones ache less. I just feel so much better. They have a natural anti-inflammatory effect when you're on these medications. I have lots of people that are having serious bowel issues. I mean, serious, inflammatory bowel disease and things like that. They get off their medications. I've even had patients that have had significant cases of Hashimoto's, and they were running out of answers. They'd been to endocrinology. They'd done all the things. They'd done all the medications and the lifestyle changes, the anti-inflammatory diets. They get on a GLP-1 and all of a sudden they're coming in and they're saying, hey, look, I've been off my Hashimoto's medications for quite a while. So
I don't want to get crazy and say, we are proponents of this, but it's some anecdotal things. I have a niece who she's had a couple of ablations in her heart. She got off her atrial fibrillation medications because her heart palpitations slowed and stopped with this. Now I'm not saying that it treats that. We're not, see your doctor.
We're just
use
talking
your regular stuff. But it is amazing. It's impressive how many positive health benefits that are not what we're talking about, like lose some pounds, that people experience. And we sound like we're just preaching like this is, and we're fans. We're fans of using this as a tool because we've seen so many people make their efforts more successful.
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down to. When you watch, it's one thing to read stories or read studies and you go, oh, this has changed this many lives, or people have lost this many pounds on these medications and all that. To read it is one thing. When you experience this, when you as a provider sit across from a patient that seems hopeless, I can't tell you how many tears have been shed in my office when I see patients of just frustrated. And then on the flip side of that, how many tears of joy when patients are like, look, I set a goal of 160 pounds because boy, I didn't think that 100 and, really where I wanted to be, 140 was actually possible. And next thing you know, they're crushing their goals and they've lost all that weight and they feel so much better. And like I said, in a lot of cases, tears of joy, as opposed to these patients that, previously felt like they had done all the things. They were spending 6 days a week in the gym and they were doing all the things and feeling like they were making zero progress. They'd work for a whole year and lose 2 pounds. And now all of a sudden they get these medications out, and some people will even call them cheats, right? Like they'll say, hey, that's cheating. You shouldn't do that. You should just put in the hard work. I know a lot of patients that have put in the hard work that probably eat a lot better than a lot of people that are frankly much thinner and would even by general standards, probably people would look at and say, hey, this is a really healthy person. I know patients that have lived that life and ate clean and just felt like they were spinning their wheels.
Yeah. Well, it's not only about a number on a scale. Okay, let's do a little vulnerable moment here, right? Sure. I'm looking end of January. So it's been 3 years that my wife and I sat in your office. Yeah. Right? Is it 3 years ago?
Has it been that long? Yeah.
I think it's been 3 years.
Wow.
Right? Not 2. It's
no, because it was, it's been 3.
So 3 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. We sat and again, I weighed 50 pounds more than I weigh now.
Yeah.
Okay. But the thing that killed me was on the body composition scale. That's a whole nother episode, but the body composition scale, I remember sitting in your office. I was at the time, so I just had a birthday last week, turned 57 years old. Yeah. Right. So at the time I was 54, right? 54 years old, just had turned 54. The body composition scale, one of the numbers I remember vividly that it gives is a metabolic age, like how old your body metabolism feels like it is, right?
It's not a science-based number. It's more the scale provides a number based on all of your numbers.
Your composition, all your numbers, your visceral fat, your muscle mass.
Yeah, they call it a body age, and it's your metabolic
age, I think is what it was. Yeah. And so my metabolic age, I'm 54 years old, brand new 54 years old. My metabolic age was 76. Yep. 76 years old. And I'm like,
I think you would even mean? Yeah, I think you'd even mentioned that you're like, I feel 76.
Right.
I feel old.
Okay. So now 3 years later, right? I got on your scale a few months ago. Yeah. Again, right? Same scale, exact same scale, just to see, because I hadn't been on that scale for 2.5 years probably. It's been 3 or 4 months ago, right? Yeah. So it's been almost 3 years. Get on the same scale. My metabolic age was, I think, 48.
Yeah. Younger than you actually are.
Younger than I actually am. Yep. 3 years later, I'm 3 years older, and my metabolic age has gone from 76 to 48. Now, that's a number, but it's based on a whole lot of composition things. And I'll just tell you right now, the thing that I experience with that is I do not feel 76 anymore. Yeah. Right? I feel so much better. I can move so much better. Yeah. My back hurts so much less. My knee doesn't give me nearly the problems that it used to. That's just, to me, one of the things that in my personal experience has been amazing. And I think that's what you're talking about when you talk about so many people that have put in all this effort, and this really has just magnified that and allowed me to become successful in all the things I've been trying to do for so much.
Well, and I think Rick points it out, right? He has a vulnerable moment of where he can share his experience, and then so he sees that, and we see what it does for people, not only from from our wellness clinic side, but really from the emergency room side. You know,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it's just when you're taking down all the significant risks that we see so many patients for, your heart attacks and strokes and things that we see all the time in the emergency department. When you're talking about reducing people's risks for these type of debilitating, horrible diseases
Yeah.
that change people's lives, I mean, it is such an incredible thing. And then when you combine that with the patients that we can see in the wellness clinic, and then when you talk about it even for yourself personally, it just adds that much more to it. It's just such a cool, awesome
Yeah.
experience and full circle, and it's just really fun to watch, which is what got us into this, right? Like
Yeah.
me and Rick 3 years ago when he was in my office had no intentions of we would have laughed had someone said we'd be sitting here across from each other doing a
Talking. Yeah.
podcast like this, talking
Right.
about weight loss and tirzepatide and semaglutide and a wellness plan. So it's just really what it has done is, like you said, you just feel your age, if not younger.
Younger. Yeah.
Yeah.
To add on to that a little bit, the things we see in the emergency department, so many things that are the end result of a lot of accumulated um, trauma or misuse or abuse of your body.
Yeah.
I mean, we see people that come in that I can't breathe because my lungs are so bad. I've been smoking for 40 years. We've known forever smoking is bad for your lungs, and you see people that come to that point where you're just never going to get better. And I think what this has provided me is a vision for so many people that you can regain so much life,
Yeah.
and enjoyment, because really, if you continue how you are, it's going to lead. It's just miserable and uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and you feel unhealthy. But we've literally seen how that can be changed. How so much, um, I guess, so much life there is to enjoy. Um, by making some of these small changes, and over time, like I said, I mean, 3 years is going to be 3 years,
Yeah.
right? You're going to be the same or worse, or you're going to be better.
Well, and that's a good point. I think, even going back to the ER example, I mean, what we're trying to do is help with the preventable stuff.
Yeah.
There are things in life, there are accidents in life, things that we see in the emergency department that no one could have saw coming, and they were just unfortunate accidents and things that happen
Yeah.
in life, and it's hard to watch those things, and it's not that it's any better, but in the case of something like heart disease, or things that happen in terms of joints and back pain and things like that we see all the time in
All
the
the time.
emergency department. A lot of these things could be prevented by taking better care of yourself. Sometimes that would include the use of a GLP-1. Some people can just get it broken down for them with a wellness guide and really kind of take those steps and just make it work with that. Either way, what's happening is that we would love to see less of the preventable disease
Yeah.
in the emergency department.
Yeah.
And, because we're there for accidents and we're there to help with whatever the problem is. We just know the impact that these medications and these lifestyle changes have had on so many of our patients as well as ourselves. And so, that's what really motivated us to
Yep.
do this, is
Yep.
because we see the impact. I was telling my wife the other day, I'm in my mid 40s. I was telling my wife the other day, I feel better in my 40s than I did in my 30s. That is not how that's supposed to go.
Right.
I mean, but you feel so much better, with or without the medications. The lifestyle changes either way are going to be an important piece of this. And if you decide at some point along this journey that you get a medical provider to help support you with some of this, we just want to be able to give you all the information, right?
Yep.
Because it's just an interesting topic, and we only get one body. You only get one chance at this.
Yep.
And so I think if we can help people understand it, really, comprehend GLP-1s, whether you have questions or if it's just about general weight loss or health, hopefully we can clear some of that stuff up for the people that watch this.
Yep. I think it's great. So that's our rundown. Let's just, I think we wrap it up with that for
Yeah.
tonight. We could literally talk for hours and hours about this stuff, but I think it's a good introduction on GLP-1s. We're going to get into, over the next weeks, we'll get into a little bit about that. Probably talk to one of our pharmacist friends, because there's a lot of talk about the cost and what compounding pharmacies have really enabled people to do, because these just can't there's more demand than there is
Sure,
medicine,
that's supply.
right?
Well, and just the affordability of it
Yeah,
all, and where are these medications made, what's safe, what's not safe, and
yeah,
we'll dive into all that stuff.
get into
Try to
all
get
that.
all your questions answered,
Yeah,
because there's so much information online about all this stuff, and we hopefully will become at least one source of good information. We do talk a lot about our opinions, but it's not. We'll let you know when it's an opinion, and we'll let you know when it's something that was put out by a legitimate study. So we'll talk about all this stuff, and we'll talk about other anti-obesity medications. There's a lot of
yeah. There's a
tools
lot of
out there.
other options that have been around for a long, long time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we'll get into it.
Okay, great. So GLP-1s, we'll talk way more about that. We wish you all the best. We want you to be healthier ever after, and we're confident that you can.
Absolutely.
Before we go, just a reminder that this is informational purposes and education only. If you, especially when you're talking about medications, we strongly encourage you to seek the care of your physician or qualified healthcare provider before starting any medication or other health program or supplements. Especially if you have an underlying medical condition. We're grateful you're here, and we will see you next time.
See ya.